Hello and welcome. Today we are going to be looking at the final parts of our REST API that we are building using Node, MongoDB, Express. That is what we are doing today. So we're going to be looking at the final codes and in the last class we had, after fixing up the questions.js that is inside the route, we are having some errors. So I was able to figure out these errors offline, and they've been taken care of. And after which, we're going to test this out in Postman to see whether the we can fetch the end, put this up on our website so that we can see the full codes. Okay. So I'm going to just go through this. So lastly, we are done now. This is testing the app on Postman, which is the last thing. I'm going to be showing us the updated codes. This is question.js. This is what we have in question.js, and I can open that up here. So this is my work, and you can see this is question. This is question.js in capital letter. This represents the model. So that is where I'm going to be starting now. So you're going to be looking at the code that I have and affecting the necessary change if what you have on your own is not exactly what I have, so that we can be able to run this. So this is our question.js, and I'm going to be explaining the code so that you understand. So this question.js is inside the models folder. You can see my models folder here. You can see my routes folder. So the question for the routes is in small letter, and it has S at the back, but this is just question. So what we basically did here was that we did const mongoose equal to requirement. We brought mongoose, like you all know, mongoose is the model that we can use to connect with the MongoDB. Okay. And that is because we are going to be having it here. You can see here that we have mongoose.model. So that's why we had to bring it in. Then we created the schema, which is the layout of our table. So the name of this database is CBT database, but the name of the table we are having is the question schema table. So this is how you will initialize that as a constant equal to mongoose.schema. You can see we are using mongoose here too. So the fields, the labels, the fields in the table is going to be question text, which is going to be the question. So let's say you have a question that says the process by which plants manufacture food is, that's the question text. Then you have this question text is going to be a string, that's the data type, and it's going to be always there. Anytime you're posting a question, there must be question text. Now, question option are the options like, if you now come to the option, you have A, photosynthesis, B, symbiosis, C, blah, 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 okay? So those are the options. Now, date is the day that you're filling it in. So those are the three fields that we have: question text, question option, and date. So we had to export this so that we can use this question some other way, which is in the route when we are building the logic for the posting and the deleting and the CRUD operation. And that's why we have models.export equal to mongoose.model questions, then dot question schema, which is what we're having here. So we're assigning this to this, okay? So that's what we're having there for questions, okay? And you can see that in these when I upload them to the website. So the next file here, these are the latest updated file. The next file is the questions.js inside the routes. So this is the full CRUD operation. We have updates and we're using router.patch for that. That's express, your express dot whatever you have. You can have app.patch, app.delete, but it's router that we're using because we've created a new folder for this. Okay, router.get. This is getting a specific question. This is deleting a question. This is updating a question. So this is a full CRUD operation. CRUD stands for create, retrieve, update, and delete. So you can see it's doing all those. So inside this file, what we have, we simply have, this is the file here. So you can copy from what I just showed you, paste in here, get it. So, okay, so this is the questions.js. So I'm gonna go up and come down so that I explain this code to us. So we are bringing in Express. We are using Express for the making the HTTP request, working as our server. Express is the best way to spin up a server very fast in Node.js. So brought in Express by simply saying const Express equal to require Express. So brought in router. That's why we're able to now, instead of saying app.get or so, we say router.get. So brought in router by saying const router equals to express.router. So you see that this router is gotten from Express. Okay, and that's why we can say router.get, instead of using app.get, app.delete, app.post, and the rest. Now I have const question equals to require question. We are bringing in the question model. This is very question that we looked at before, this capital letter question. That's what we are bringing in. So we say const model equal to require, and here is the folder up one level inside models and inside the file folder. So that's how we brought in. These are things we needed, the models we needed to work on this file. So in order to get back all questions, that's why we say router.get slash, so that once you get to localhost slash questions, and this is going to return a promise. That was why we're using async and await. Okay, so we have async rec res. Once there is a request, there should be a response, and we're including in a try catch block in order so that once there is any error like exception or small error, it could be caught and it will not mess up our application. So we have created a variable questions, and we assign the what we get from this promise to it, and it's going to await question.find. So when you go to the model question, .find is there to find all the questions. So once you find our res.json questions, then you can catch the error and report the error. So that's the essence. So just take note of the way this is structured. You can also have rest or status 200 for operations that went through or that goes through. But we're not going to be going into the details of status code for now. Okay, so that is for getting all the questions. So the next one is posting a question. So the same way routed of post, you can see the keyword here, post. Get is when you're getting, post is when you're posting. So still the same way, once you say localhost slash question, that's why we have this async, because this is gonna take some time to return. So it's returning a promise. It's always good to use async and await for that. So rec, res, request, response. So creating a variable too, and assigning what we get from the question. And what are we fetching from the question model? We're just fetching the question text and the question object. So we are actually getting their body, rec.body. And for you to do that, that's why we initially installed body parser to help us get this body in form of JSON. Very, very important. And we're enclosing this in a try catch block so that we have const saved question. Once we get it, we'll save it. Question.save. And we're responding the JSON. That's what we're returning. Catching any error that is there. Okay. And next one is get specific question. Once you want to get specific question, you must attach the ID. So it has to be slash ID, question ID. So the same thing, async and await, and creating a variable question and attaching what we get there. So we're using question.find by ID in order to return a specific question. Very, very important. Also enclosing a try catch block and returning a JSON message if there is error. Okay. Now to delete a particular question too, the same thing, must attach an ID. So ID reg params.question.id. So whenever you are using ID, you must make mention of this reg param.question.id. Very important. So the same thing for patching. You're patching patching simply means updating. So you're updating a specific question. That's why you must attach this ID. So what are you updating? You're updating the particular question. At that very question ID, you're setting the question text to the new question text that you want. So in this case, you are just updating the question text. Take note, if you want to update other things like options, you must have to bring them in. Okay. So once you're done, model.export equal to router does it for you. So that is the router, the questions router. One good thing about this separation of concerns, when we start authentication, we are going to be able to have users.js, and for the model, we also have capital letter U users.js. So this is perfect. And the next thing folder that the next file we updated was the app.js. So this is our new app.js. So I'm gonna still open it here so that we look at what it is now. So in our new app, latest app.js, we brought in Express, like you all know. Then const app equal to Express, which definitely we are no longer using because we're using router now. So const mongoose equal to require mongoose, brought in mongoose to enable us to talk to our MongoDB database. Const body parser to enable us to process JSON data. And const cross platform origin transfer to enable us to talk to the API from another host. Then require .env/config in order to enable us to use the .env file where we have our database credentials so that we don't get it exposed. So here we brought in middlewares, the call that we brought in app.use. That's how you bring in middleware. Whenever you see app.use, so you can see that we are still using the app equal to Express by using it to bring in calls and also using it to bring in the body parser. So these are middlewares. Middlewares are functions that always occur anytime you want to start processing your code snippet. So they're always there. It's going to always enable cross origin and as well body parser before other things starts happening in order for you to have the right result that you want. So we brought in the route, const question route. That's the only route we have. We also require, and that's where it is up one level inside routes, and the name of the full file is questions.js. Okay. In order to use it after bringing, say app.use, then brackets last question. That's where that's the route. So this last question simply means if you want to get to the question route, you say localhost colon 3000/questions. And once you say that, it's going to hit this route, and this route is already inside questions in route folder. So that's simply what this is talking about. Then under these routes, these other routes that we have here, these routes are routes that are not in the app.js, but these very routes you have here, they are here in the app.js. And this is simply the home file, localhost semicolon 3000. That's the route here. Then this other one, mongoose.connect, is the connection to the database. You can see it here. We are using process.m.dbconnect because we specify the login credentials inside our .env file, which is here. db_connect. You can see here I've changed my first database inside this string to CBT because I want this file to be having this name CBT. Okay. So when you now go down, okay, I'm in app.js, you now go down, have app.listener at port 3000. Okay, so that does it for that. Then if you open our package.json, which I think is the next file here, if I scroll up, okay, the next file is our package.json, which is this here. So you see all the models that I've installed. So if you check out these under dependencies, if you don't have any of these, just simply say npm space install space the name body parser course.env express mongoose and nodemon. These are the models that I'm using. So please make sure that you have all these models. Apart from that, I think you're good to go. You have all the codes written exactly the way I have them here. You're good to go. Okay. Okay, so with this, I'm going to simply open Postman now and test out these. I'm also going to open our Atlas database to see the data. Just whenever I post them there, because this is very much okay and it's working. So what we're having is actually a very simple REST API. It's not complex. It's not like it's not a big deal. Okay. So let me go open a REST API and let me go open Postman now. So we test this out. If you have any questions and concerns, please drop them in the comment section, and so that anytime when I check it out, I'm able to give you response to that. Okay. Don't worry, we are getting there. My system is a little bit slow. It's gonna take time. I want to see my desktop so that I can spin up the Postman so that I can get all this tested. So if you check out the notepad, the last part of it is the instruction on how to test out this REST API. Test out the endpoints on Postman. So the endpoints we are checking now will be the get endpoint. That's get all questions, get a specific question, submit question, delete, and update. Those are the endpoints. So in a more complex application, you're going to be having these endpoints for all the utilities that you're going to be having. For we want this to be super simple. That's why we are just looking at the question alone. So when we do authentication for this application, we're going to be having users, going to be authenticating, having register for the user and login. So we're going to have various endpoints for all these operations. And that is peculiar to software. Whenever you're building them, they are supposed to have features. And all these features are going to be represented by various endpoints in the RESTful architecture that you're using, so that it makes the work easy. Anybody can consume this REST API with any form of front end that the person has, whether it is a Flutter front end for mobile applications or React for web applications, which is what we're going to be doing. From Monday, we're going to start building out a React that will consume this REST API. And after that, we build a Flutter application that will also consume this same REST API. So at some point, we are going to be hosting on Heroku, but for now, we are going to be doing every development locally on our system. To test run it. If it's working perfectly, then we'll host it. And like I said, it's going to be super simple. After the very simple nature of it, then we'll start adding features little by little to the application. But once an application that has the basic MVP, there are viable products that can enter the market or be appreciated by anybody that wants to use it. That's what we're looking at. Then after some times, we'll continue to make it look more like what we want. Okay, so this is what we call Postman. You can see it there. If you want to download Postman, simply go to your Google. Just search for Postman. The first link there, that's it. Click on it. It's going to show you Postman for Windows. Download it and install. Once you download and install, you're going to see this very icon like I have here. So I'm going to double click on this. So I've already test run this offline, and I'm going to open up the collection where I have the endpoints, and we're going to test it out and see that they are working. They are all working. So once you have the codes like I just showed you now, it will work perfectly. So I corrected the errors that I had in the previous class, and we are now working. So those errors we are majorly from the brackets. I was having lesser brackets in some and more than others. So I was able to take care of this. And also, I was having calls and body parts are imported in the route while I already have them in the app.js. So I had to take out the ones in the route and leave only the one after this. Since the route is referenced in app.js, so definitely it will, or since the app.js was referenced in the route, it will inherit some of those models that we are already brought in either app.js or router.js. Okay. So our Postman is opening now. Once it opens, we can test out the endpoints. So take note, before you start testing out the endpoints on your Postman, you must make sure that the development server is running. That means you must have done npm start on your VS Code, the files on your VS Code. Make sure that server is running. If not, it's not going to work. So what you're seeing in your Postman is also what you're seeing on your browser, your Chrome, if you're using Chrome to test out. But the difference between using Chrome to test out is that you can only run the get command in Chrome. So if you want to post, because you are using application, JSON, body row, and all those things, the Chrome might not provide such facilities for you to post. So in order for you to test out the post command or post endpoint, you just definitely have to do it in a Postman. Okay. So you can see my Postman is opening up. So a good practice in testing out your endpoints on Postman will be to create collections. So collections is like the apps that you're creating. I'm gonna click on dismiss here. So collections is like the app. Like every app I create a collection. Like this collection. If you click here now, you see new collection. So like for you guys that if you're putting this for the first time, it will ask you, do you want to create it? It will not bring exactly what is brought out for me here. They bring an initial window where you can make requests or create collection. So I suggest you click on create collection, then put the collection name as CBT. Since we are working for you can see the one I did for farm produce listing, the Facebook calendar we did the last time. So I had 9 endpoints that I tested, but in this CBT I just have two endpoints, the post and the get. Okay, so this is the post. So if I click on this, so you can see get. This is supposed to be post, so I can edit this. Okay, so it doesn't really matter. Once you have this, you can click here and create a request. So you can see here they wrote add request. So click on it. So you can add any request. If it's a post request, you can name it. So let's say we had for specific questions. So let me create a get request for specific. So take note, what you add as the name of this will be similar to your CRUD operation, the endpoints there you're looking at. So I say a get request for specific questions and point. Okay. Okay. So I can just say save to CBT so you can see it here for specific questions. So let me check out this post. So this is the post. This is a post request. You can always pick the request you want. So depending on what you have in your CRUD operation snippet, that depends on whether the kind of request you're making, whether it's get. So we're going to test out all of them. So if I go to this my route.js, this is my question.js under route, so I can see the various endpoints. So this is the first one is get. You can see router.get, and it's for getting all questions. Okay, so it's just last, and it's under question. So we're gonna get it under slash questions. If I get back here and I have localhost /30/questions, localhost colon 3000/questions. So I can use that to get all questions. But very importantly, before you do this, make sure that the server is running. If the server is not running, it's not going to work. So I'm going to first of all come here and do npm start. So that is how you start your development server. So once I see that the server is running, that's when I go to make request and to work. Your server is not running. If you make request, it's going to return a status code that shows that the server is not serving. But if it returns well, it's going to return status code 200 for successful request. So you can see that it's starting up here. NodeMon is starting. So once I see connected to my, connected to Tclassified. So that means it has connected. So I get back to my listing. So what you post here is what you're likely going to post on your browser. We have localhost / if you just put only /3000, it's going to take you to the basic welcome Tclassified.com. So let's try that. So make sure you select get here. If you put post, that means you want to post question. If you put up, put or update or delete, that means you want to delete. So what is here is the kind of CRUD operation that you're running. So we are running a get operation. That's why we have get there. Okay. So you can see it's sending requests. So once it's done, it will return an output for us. Let's test it out. Okay, so you can see the results. Welcome to Classified CBT, because we just went here. So if I say /questions, it's going to return all the questions that I've added. And like I told you, I've tested this out before, so I've already added some questions. Okay, so you can see the returning now. So this is manufacture of food by plants from sunlight is called A, photosynthesis, B, reaction. So you can see this question, the question options, date, the date that it was created, and it's manufactured an ID for us. So that's what MongoDB does. So the question, second question, the same question, I added it 2 times. Third question, organisms that manufacture their own food are A, autotrophs, B, symbionts, C, heterotrophs. You can see it's working perfectly now. Okay, so get all questions are working. So even if I say get specific questions, so let me take this question that is only one. So it has to be by ID. So I have to copy this ID and put here. So it will still get that very question. But if I want to post, I can go to post. I know the endpoint is still the same thing here, but the keyword here has to change. And if you want to post, you must click on this body. So you follow this instruction here for post. If you come down, you see how I wrote you can test out. This is for posting. So click on post, like I've selected post here. Click on body, I've clicked on body. Raw, click on raw and also select JSON as your listing. So I'll click on body, click on raw, then I select JSON. So here, it might be another thing selected. It might be text. When you're trying it, it's not going to work until you select JSON, because that's the type of data you want to test. So organisms that manufacture their own food, that's what I want to paste again. It's only, from here, is only one. Manufacture of food by plant by sunlight is 2. So I have only 3 questions here. So I want to make it 4 now. Okay, once I paste this now, okay, organism, you see, it has returned a status code of 200, showing that it's okay. So it has posted. So if I do get again, I will see 4 instead of just 3. So if I come here now and go to get, still at the same endpoint, because that's what they are using. If I now click here, if I scroll down here now, so I have this 1, I have this 2, I have this 3, I have this 4. So I have plenty of questions now. So let me still post 1 more so that I have 5 questions, so that when I go to Atlas, you will see the questions. So the 5th question will be, who is the president of Nigeria? So option here, I'm gonna have General Muhammadu Buhari. Number 2, President Joe Biden. Joe Biden. Then number 3, Chancellor Angela Merkel. Okay, so if I post this now, I'm gonna see it. I see status code 200. You can see it. Who is the president of Nigeria? General. You can see the automatic ID given. Okay. So if I put get and I attach an ID here, it's gonna get a particular question from me. But I want us to quickly go to our Atlas database and check out and see whether we can see all these questions. So take note, in the connection string in the .env file, get to where we wrote my first database, change it to CBT. But if you leave it as my first database, it's still going to create a database known as my first database in your Atlas. So it doesn't really make any difference. The code will still work. But I just named this CBT so that once I get to my Atlas, I should be able to quickly locate the database. Since if you leave it like that, if you have my first DB, what if you want to create another application, it will still write my first DB because that's what MongoDB gives as the name of the database automatically. So I'm going to go to MongoDB Atlas. Okay, I already have it here, so I'll just click. I'll log into my Atlas and get to the cluster that I'm working on. Click on collections, then I should be able to see the database. So databases are called collections in MongoDB. So when you go there and you're looking for the database, you might be confused. So just take note that they are called collections. So once you see collections, click on the collections. They're going to be linked up to there. Okay. So we are about done because it's already working. So the only thing now needed is for us to build our front end and consume those API. That's just it. Okay, this is for if I'm creating a new account. So I'll go to MongoDB log. I will have to log in. Okay. So let me see MongoDB Atlas login. So I'm taking the second option. Okay, this is login. So creating a REST API in Node.js is very simple. I was also looking at doing some in Python, but you can see with Node.js, it's just there. So get to learn it to serve you so much. Okay, so I'm gonna put my password, and I click on login. Yeah, hope you're enjoying your weekends. Okay, so when you log in, that's what's gonna come up. So this is the cluster I'm working on, cluster 0. If you want to see your database, just click on collections. You can see collections here. Click on it because collections represent databases in MongoDB Atlas. That's what they call it, collections. Why they call tables? They call tables documents. Happy? I think so, yeah. Collections are collections are the databases. We call MongoDB a NoSQL database. NoSQL database, they are the object database. Databases that are in form of objects, like you have in your normal coding. Whereas the SQL ones are the ones that use the query language to access, like Postgres and MySQL. Postgres, MySQL, Oracle, all of them are SQL databases, SQL database. Whereas the NoSQL, talk about MongoDB. MongoDB is the most famous in that in the NoSQL world. Okay, so I'll click on collections. Okay, so it's opening up. You can see retrieving list of databases and collections. Okay, so the databases are the collections. So I'm going to see whether I will see CBT. If you've not changed your own to CBT, you will see my first database. So you can see my own. I have CBT here because that's the collection I created. Those are the databases. So if you click on this CBT, you're going to see the table. So the table here is questions table. And inside the question table, if I click now, I should be able to see the questions. It's loading. So you can see I have five questions, 1 of 5, because I added 5 questions. You can see question number 1, manufacture of food by plants, which is also number 2 question. You can see with the option of photosynthesis and blah, blah, blah. Organisms that manufacture their own food. I also repeated it as 2. Then the last question I added, who is the president of Nigeria? So you can see all of them are posting immediately. So let's say now I go back to Postman, I post another question. Let me post another question now. Let's see. So what should I post? What paper type are you answering? What paper type are you answering? So I have options as type A, just like you have in Jam. So I have number 2 option as type B. Then I have number 3 option or C option as type C. Okay. So I'm going to send this now through Postman. You can see we are sending this through Postman, but we're getting it in our Atlas MongoDB that is online. So you can see that the connection is already there. That's why, because of the connection. That's why MongoDB Atlas is just the best. You don't need to set up the database on your system. It's already reading out there. Okay, you can see it's returning status code 200, telling us that it's stock set. And that's giving it this ID and this. So if I get back now to my MongoDB Atlas, you can see now that we don't have that 5th question. So once we refresh now, you see it. If I come here now and refresh, you see we're having 1 of 5. You're gonna see now after refreshing, we have 1 of 6, meaning that the connection is working perfectly. Okay. Okay, so that's why we're gonna be stopping, and I'm gonna be taking my leave and resting. Okay, you can see now 1 of 6. If I scroll down now, I should see that last question I added. You can see what paper type are you answering, type A type. Okay, so when we implement React for these very endpoints now, you see that we fed this in a more cute and more juicy way. You understand it much better. So take note of what I just said now. These are the whole codes. I'm running my server. That's why this is affecting. The whole code is inside this notepad, which we are going to be updating on our website. So if you have any questions and concerns, please drop them in the comment section. If you're following on Facebook and you're seeing these questions, drop in the comment section. If you're following on YouTube, drop in the YouTube comment section. Once I check out, I should be able to answer them. Okay, so the next class for Monday will be React.js. So I'm gonna be teaching you React as if you are starting React for the first time. So then we incorporate this very project to build a simple API, to build a simple front end that consumes this API. Okay. Thank you for listening. See you when I see you. Please, if you like this video, give us a thumbs up. If you like it, share it so that your friends can see it. Thank you. See you when I see you.